All right, we are live. Welcome back to the Fast Break here on the Variety Sports Network. I'm your host, Shoot to Rock, and it's crazy, but basketball season is already here. We got NBA Live opening night tonight. I got the pregame show on here off to the sides. Hopefully, I can be a little bit of a pregame talk here for you guys as well. But most importantly, in what this podcast really is going to cover this year, college basketball. This will be our main focus. We're just under 2 weeks away. 2 weeks from yesterday was the opening, not only night, but this year they're running it back. They're bringing back the full day marathon where I believe the first college basketball game of the season, I want to say, tips off at 8 a.m. Eastern. So I'm excited for that. So I'm going to be talking a lot of ball here on the channel. Looking like for right now, at least through the end of the new year, the plan is to do every Tuesday night here live, do the fast break. And then once football is done, we might transition to Thursdays. We might keep it at Tuesdays. We'll see. But yeah, for right now, plan to do Tuesdays. So we got a packed show today. And the thing we're going to start with, like I mentioned, this year really going to be a lot more college basketball focused. So we're going to start off with my teams to watch. And we're going to start by doing that by looking at the AP poll here. It came out a couple weeks ago. Let me see if I can pull it up. There we go. Sorry, we're getting back into the mix here with figuring out how all the technology works. So came out, like I said, about 2 weeks ago now. Number one team in the country, Purdue Boilermakers, and that makes sense to me. They return a lot of top guys. Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith. I don't know why I didn't start with Braden Smith. Trey Kaufman, Wren, they're big. The big Purdue names that you've known for years, they're back on this Purdue team this year. Number two, we have Houston. Runner-up last year in the national title game. Like I said, a lot of guys coming back for them, like JoJo Tugler. I believe Milos Uzan is back. So a lot of guys back for them as well. Florida is defending national champs at 3. While they do lose, their key guards, they do have guys like Alex Condon, some of their wings. Our wings and bigs are going to be back. It's just going to be, can they get a new backcourt guys to kind of play the way that Walter Clayton and all those guys did for them last year. 4, we got UConn, the 2-time defending champions from 2 years ago. 5, we have St. John. So back-to-back Big East teams right there. That should be a lot of fun to watch. Those two teams really don't like each other. 6, we got Duke. No Cooper Flagger, Con Knipple. I mean, their whole starting 5 is gone. All got drafted in the NBA this past year, but Blue Devils still should be loaded. 7, Michigan. 8, BYU, who has the number one player in the class, AJ DeMasta. So he'll be a lot of fun to watch. Number 9, Kentucky. Texas Tech at 10, Louisville 11, UCLA 12, Arizona 13, Arkansas 14, Alabama 15, Iowa State 16, Illinois 17, Tennessee 18, Kansas 19, Auburn 20, Gonzaga 21, Michigan State 22, Creighton 23, and then Wisconsin and North Carolina wrap up the top 25 there in the AP poll. So, like I said, I'm going to go through here some teams to watch, kind of my thoughts on the poll, but as well as, just as other teams. So also here, I got my, I would recommend getting one of these, Lindy Sports College Basketball Magazine. So kind of talk about, the different teams that they're fans of as well this year, who they have high hopes for. And for me, the first team you got to start with is those Houston Cougars, who are at number 2, because in every other major, kind of college basketball ratings, like analytics, very big in the college basketball world, you see the Houston Cougars at number 1 in just about every rank. They're number 1 in KenPom. They're number 1 Evan Mia. They're number 1 Torvik, number 1 Haslametrics. The Houston Cougars are going to be a power this year. I mean, they should have won the national championship last year. It was they were up for, most of that game, just late, kind of let it get away from them. Sorry, this is bugging me. I'm going to tilt my camera down a little bit. And end up falling to Florida. But yeah, like I said, a lot of guys returning. Sorry, it's dark in here. JoJo Tugler is really the big one. He's the back end, the stopper for them at the forward / center position. Manuel Sharp, one of their guards who was there a couple of years ago, as well as Milos Uzan. Backcourt play, especially experienced backcourt play, is it's a necessity. Sorry, I can't speak, in college basketball. And it makes me, really high on this Houston Cougars team. It's a team that, if you're a gambling person, man or woman, I'd be laying some coin on the Houston Cougars to win the national championship this year. I mean, they've been in the mix. Kelvin Sampson, very good head coach. They're just a very defensive team. And I mean, they just have this ability, at least they did last year. And like I said, with a lot of these guys back and how good they are defensively, I could see it again, to just steal games that they have no business winning. I mean, like that Final Four game against Duke, like that, they trailed pretty much the entire game. And the fact that they came back and won was just very impressive. So, there's guys that are going to be hungry that they just came up just short last year, but now, they're returning this year, having kind of, getting another chance to win a national title. I think it's a team I would be very high on. Next, I mean, I feel like you have to talk about them. The Florida Gators, like I said, defending national champs. They're number 2 here in Ken Pom, number 4 in Evan Mia, number 5 in Bart Torvik, and number 6 in Haslametrics. So all of these sites still very high on them, top 6 team at worst. Like I said, they return guys like Alex Condon and Robin Chinyulu. So, they're really good at the center depth. A lot of returners there. But then, like I said, really the big thing is going to be, can they get these guards to step up? So, they got Boogie Fland out of the transfer portal. Xavier Lee, who was, an Ivy League guy, really solid in the Ivy League, but it's going to be, can he step up here in the SEC? That'll be interesting to see. Other than that, kind of other guys like Urban Klosvov, who was on the team last year, freshman here, and Alex Lloyd, top 40 recruit in the country. So Florida's going to be another loaded team. I mean, the SEC was the best conference to watch in college basketball last year. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I feel like at this point, what SEC football thinks they are, that's what SEC basketball actually is. So Florida Gators gotta be one that I'm high on as well. Then after that, like I mentioned, Purdue returning so much from last year. Like, I forget what podcast it was. I've listened to a couple different college basketball podcasts trying to get ready for this, but they just talked about how someone asked Matt Painter, do you think this is your best chance to win a national championship? And he said yes. He said yes, because of just how loaded this team is. Like I said, number 1 in the AP poll. Where's their page at? Where's it coming? Can't find it. My apologies. Should have had like these bookmarked. So yeah, Purdue, number 1 in the AP poll, going to be a really solid team as well. Let's see here. So on Ken Pom, they're ranked 3rd behind Houston and Florida. Evan Mia, he has them 2nd behind Houston. Bart Torvik has them 4th behind Houston, Michigan, and Duke. And then Haslametrics has them at 7th. So once again, really high on it. Like I said, this probably is their best chance to win, just because they return Braden Smith, they return Trey Kaufman-Wren, they return Fletcher Lawyer. Like their big 3 from last year is back, and they're a team that, like I mentioned, Houston could have won the national championship. Purdue almost beat Houston. Like that game went down to the wire. Houston ran like a great inbounds play to end up beating Purdue. So the Boilermakers, granted, the Big Ten is a tough league to play in. It's one of those, it seems like the teams just all kind of beat up on each other. But honestly, like if there's ever been a team, especially in this now 18-team Big Ten, that I could see just kind of running the table, like winning 17, maybe even all 18 conference games, or do they play 20 now in Big Ten? I can't remember. Like Purdue may legitimately lose one. Like I'd be surprised they lose more than 2 games in the Big Ten. I think that's how good they're going to be this year. So Purdue, definitely another team you got to watch. Then we'll just kind of keep going through here, the AP poll, the teams that, are really highlighted there. Next, you got to go to UConn. UConn going to be another really fun team to watch this year. One that, I always enjoy watching. It's maybe a bit of a hate watch, just because, maybe Dan Hurley's not for you. And it is kind of funny. Last year he was kind of whining about UConn not being number 1 in the preseason polls. And I'm seeing this year, the preseason polls don't matter from Dan Hurley. Like, he is the kind of coach that we need in college basketball. He's coach makes the sport entertaining. So UConn and Ken Pom, they're ranked 5th. In Evan Mia, they're also ranked 5th. Bart Torvik has them at 10, so he's a little bit lower on them. And then Haslametrics has them at 3rd. So that's the highest anyone is out of all of them. Like I said, 4th in the AP poll. So Alex Caravan, who is on the national championship teams, he's still there. Granted, he didn't play, a huge role, at least not on the first team. But, he's a senior this year. And when you have a guy that's won 2 national championships on your roster, it's very rare in college basketball. I mean, before that, Florida was the last team to win back-to-back back in like 06, 07. So we hadn't seen the even opportunity for that in, what is that, 2 decades, just short of that. Solo Ball wasn't on the national championship teams, but he's a junior this year. He's been playing really well for them at the guard position. So he'll definitely play a big role in this. Then just kind of looking at, other guys on this roster. Terrence Reed Jr. won the Big 6 East Big Man of the Year last year. Now he's going to start this year, so he's going to play an even bigger role. Silas Demery Jr. was a transfer from Georgia, and I really liked his game at Georgia. Now he's gonna probably play a really big role on this UConn team with Solo Ball there. So the Huskies gonna be a very good team to watch. I feel like granted, I'm just a huge Big East fan, and I'm going to talk more, maybe some conference predictions, players of the year kind of thing next week. But yeah, like I feel like UConn, when they're playing, especially in the Big East, appointment television, especially when they play this next team that I'm talking about here, St. John's. Now, last year, Coach Rick Pitino, first year back at a major program, and the Red Storm really, really achieved. They're ranked here 5th in the AP poll, like I mentioned, in some of these other polls. 16th in Ken Pom. In Evan Mia, they're ranked 14th. Bart Torvik has them at, got to scroll a little bit here. Did I miss some? Should have wrote this down. There's no way he has them this low. I must have missed them. Oh, he has them at, he has them at 7th. And then Haslam Metrics has St. John's at 15th. So maybe not as highly rated as some of these teams that I've talked through here to start, but Zuby Ejiofor returning for them, led the nation offensive rebounding last year. He's going to play a big role. As a transfer in a couple of years ago. He's really kind of the key piece here on this UConn team, on this St. John's team. He's the only returning player that I'm seeing. They lose RJ Luis Jr., they lose Kadari Richmond, and it's a team, they bowed out early in the tournament last year, was kind of hoping for maybe a deeper run, but Arkansas got the best of them in the second round. So it's really going to be, can guys like Josan Sannon, a senior or sophomore transfer, could have been drafted, decides, hey, I want to go play for Coach Pitino St. John's. Dylan Mitchell, he was 5th in the country in dunks last year in Cincinnati. He's, a really solid forward, got a lot of jump, can jump out of the gym. Guys like that. It's going to be, can the supporting cast, Ian Jackson's another one, a guard, was at UNC last year, was on the all-freshman team, the ACC. Now he's at St. John's. It's going to be can that supporting cast around Zuby Ejiofor, really step up for St. John's. And I mean, looking at it right now, I mean, them and UConn are the class of the Big East. One of those two is going to win the Big East. And that's why I'm just saying, that's why I love the Big East, because it is one of the few really regional conferences. Because now, all these conferences focus on football, where the Big East, went away from football a decade ago plus now. So they really are sticking to this Northeast. Granted, it's expanded a little bit. To all the way out to Omaha. Wouldn't really credit Omaha as the Northeast, but Creighton's going to be probably the 3rd best team in that league. So to see those kind of 3 teams, especially UConn, St. John's, duke it out in the Big East this year, I'm be really looking forward to that. Make sure to drop here in the chat, guys, your teams that you're looking forward to. Really like interacting with the chat. I mean, I'll touch on a couple more teams here. Next one, I'm probably going to go back to the Big Ten, because they are a team I'm seeing, pretty high in these polls, and probably the only team that has even a shot of competing with Purdue. And again, maybe I shouldn't just bounce around so much. Maybe we should kind of go conference by conference here. But it's what I'm going to do. So the Michigan Wolverines, and I missed their page in this thing. While I look for that. So in Ken Pom, Michigan is ranked 11th. Evan Mia has them at 6th, so he's pretty high on them. Like I said, some of these sites are really high on Michigan. Bart Torvik has them at 3rd, and then Haslam Metrics has Michigan at 25th. So he's not as high on the Wolverines as some of these other sites. So their team, they return Namari Burnett, led Michigan in 3-point percentage last year, so a really good shooter for them. But what I really like with this Michigan team, a guy that I've been really high on, at UAB last year. Yaxel Luxembourg went off for 30 points, 20 rebounds, like in one game. Like he's one of the most dominant bigs in the country last year. And I feel like, a lot of people probably didn't get to see that just because he was playing at UAB, probably not appointment television for a lot of people to watch UAB play. But now that he's at Michigan, I think he's really going to kind of roll into this role last year that was the Vlad Golden, like Danny Wolf, like bigs that really control the offense just because of how dominant. I don't think he's going to be bringing the ball up the floor by any means, but, just his ability to rebound and score the ball, it's really just impressive to watch. Other guys from Michigan, Roddy Gale Jr., who's, been in the conference, been at Ohio State before. He's going to be kind of leading the backcourt alongside Namari Burnett. Elliot Cadeau, who was at UNC, like if you watch North Carolina, not very good team last year, but like a name you should be familiar with. He's a grad transfer. Trey McKinney, he was a McDonald's All-American at guard too as a freshman coming in here. Like they're gonna be a solid squad. Like I said, I think Purdue wins the Big Ten and probably handily, but if there's anyone that's going to kind of give them a run for their money or like is going to beat them, I would say it's probably this Michigan Wolverines team. Next one, we're going to go to the ACC. And, as a team, you can see my favorite team right here, I have in the back, the Duke Blue Devils. So last year, like I said, made it to the Final Four under Coach John Shire for the first time after getting upset in the Elite Eight the year prior. They're ranked 6th here in this preseason poll. Ken Pom has him at 7th. Evan Mia has them at 3rd. Bart Torvik has them at 2nd. And then Haslametrics has them at 2nd as well. So really high. I think like these projected ratings are really high on them. Like I said, it's a team that just completely new starting five. I mean, Caleb Foster's going to be a starter here. Came off the bench last year. But they're big, just kind of the big names for Duke this year. The Cooper, granted, no one's going to be a Cooper Flagg or a Con Knipp on this team. But it's going to be the Boozer twins, sons of Carlos Boozer, former, longtime NBA player, Caden Boozer and Cameron Boozer, both, 5-star recruits, really highly rated guys, at Caden's a guard, Cameron's a forward. Cameron's going to be the one that I think really lights it up. So going to see, can they really kind of fill those roles as like the freshmen that really, step up, play a big role on this Duke team. Other guys, Patrick Ngagba, the second, came off the bench last year as well. He's back. Malik Brown, who's been on this team for a couple of years, like I said, more of a bench role. Now he's going to be starting. Isaiah Evans as well. So this Duke team still does have a lot of guys that, I think they should be, from what I'm seeing, most people's pick to win the ACC. Is their ceiling as high as last year? No, but also you just never know in college basketball. Like with how loaded that Duke team was, the fact that they didn't win, like that just shows why college basketball so unpredictable and why, I just love it so much and why I feel like it's, you just got to tune in every night to see what's going to happen. Next team we're going to go to, just kind of skipping around here. We're going to go to the Big 12 for a couple teams here. Like I said, Houston, number 1 team in the country, I think hands down, but one that I'm really high on, rated pretty highly here, as you can see, 8th in the AP poll, the BYU Cougars. And like I said, they're led by AJ Dembasta, number 1 recruit in the country. But then, they return a guy like Richie Saunders, who is the Big 12's most improved player last year, can really let it fly. So the Cougars are a team, they're going to be very good this year. In Ken Pom, they are ranked 18th. In Evan Mia, they're ranked 8th. Bart Torvik has them at 6th. And then Haslametrics has them at 12th. So maybe not as high as some of these other teams, but they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, Dembasta is going to probably be the number 1 pick in next year's draft. He's going to be like this year's Cooper Flagg. And the fact that a guy like that goes to BYU now in this age of, college sports, I think that's a great thing. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So BYU basketball, like the Marriott Center is like sneaky. I mean, if you know ball, if you know college basketball, that's like one of the places to play, and it gets loud in there, and to have them have a top high-level player like that, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So other guys, Rob Wright, the third's been at Baylor for a couple of years. He's been a really solid guard for them. Kiba Keita, their center last year, averaged 21 minutes a game. He's going to really get an extended role now this year. And then looking like that, yeah, that's looking like those are the kind of the main guys for this Baylor team. Granted, they lose a guy like Igor Demon in the draft, who is probably their best player last year. So can they make up for some of these losses? We shall have to see. And then the other team I'm really high on in the Big 12, I've seen like a lot of people saying, I know for sure like Ryan Hammer, but then I've seen some other people pretty high on this team, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And, granted, they lost this week in football, but Texas Tech is one of these programs that if they can just get people to come to Lubbock, Texas, I think they're going to have a lot of success. They got a lot of oil money, can get these high-level recruits, and that's what the Red Raiders did this offseason. So, looking here on Ken Palm, they are ranked 12th. Evan Mia has them at 21st. Bart Torvik has them at 28th, so he's not very high. He's not as high on them. And then Haslam Metrics has them at 24. So last two not as high, but I mean they're the 10th team in the country here. I think they're still going to be really solid. So Christian Anderson returning for them, using all Big 12 freshman team. Sorry, excuse me, as well as JT Toppin. Obi Toppin's brother, really good year last year. So to have those two guys back, I mean, I keep doing this. Texas Tech was like a couple possessions away from going to the Final Four. Like that's how crazy last year's tournament wasn't crazy upset wise, but that's what you kind of get when there is no upsets, when the top teams just keep winning, is you get really good games that could have gone either way, like we saw in last year's tournament. Other than that, kind of guys here that I am seeing at Luke Bamagoe was a transfer from VCU. Was a really good shot blocker for the Rams last year, who were the A10 champs. Now I see him at a power program that should be a lot of fun to watch. And then that really kind of looks like it. I mean, LaShawn Watts here could be another guy transferred in from Washington State. Scored 11.6 points per game last year, so we'll see if he can kind of keep that up. And then Tyree Bryan, elite 3-point shooter, going to be one of Texas Tech's kind of go-to guards. Other Big 12 teams, I don't really think. I mean, Kansas cracks the rankings, but I mean they've kind of fallen off last couple of years. I guess we can kind of go through them here quick. Mine as well. Just talk about, national powerhouse program. I feel like you can't count them out. Granted, am I as high on them as in years past? Probably not. And I think that's kind of you're seeing that here. Is I feel like a lot of these recent polls, they've been ranked like top 5 preseason. So now I have them all the way at 19th. Looking here on Pomeroy has Kansas at 21st. Evan Mia has Kansas at no, I keep missing them. Some of these like sites, their rankings just being like so weird, like throws me off. He has them at 18th, 17th here on Torvik, and then 17th as well on Haslametrics. So Jayhawks can be led by Flory Badunga. He comes back from last year. He wasn't a starter last year, but kind of going to be one of their go-to guys. That's the thing. They really don't have any returning starters. Jamari McDowell redshirted last year, but played in 31 games 2 years ago, so he'll probably play a big role. Looking at other than that, Trey White transferred from Illinois as a guard, as a senior. He should be solid for them. So, like I said, I don't think they're as loaded as the Houston, BYU, Texas Tech, but they could they're probably in that next tier. And then final Big 12 team I'm going to go through here, Arizona Wildcats, also ranked in the poll at 13th. So their team, many people are probably high on. On Ken Palm, they are ranked 15th. Evan Mia has them at 7th, so he's pretty high on them. Bart Torvik has them at 12th, and then Haslametrics has them at 4th. So they could really be a team to surprise some people here. They bring back Anthony Delorso, who's one of their better guards, as well as Jaden Bradley. So they're returning their entire backcourt. That should be pretty good. Obviously, Bryce James going to be a name to watch playing on the Wildcats this year. That's probably another reason that, we're going to have a lot of people tune in to Arizona games, as well as in Tobey Awaka was one of the better big men in the country. Well, hasn't been a forward here, but like forward, center, front court players. I really enjoyed watching him. He made big honorable mention all Big 12, but then he was like a really good like rebounder. So Arizona, they got some good returning people. As well as Montez Krivas was on the team last year as well. So like they got some good guys, returning guys. Arizona, I'm probably taking them over Kansas. I mean, the rankings are showing it here, so they're probably in that next tier. Then we'll wrap up. We'll go through a couple more teams. We'll go to the SEC because, like I mentioned, last year SEC best conference in basketball. What their football fans think they are is what basketball actually was. And then we'll wrap up after the SEC with some NBA talk, as it looks like here this game's about to get tipped off. So first SEC team, we've already talked about Florida. But then next up, we're gonna go with Kentucky. They're 4th in KenPom. On Evan Mia, they're 11th. Bart Torvik has them at 14th, and then Haslametrics has them at 9th. So pretty good squad. Otega Owe returns. It was a transfer in last year. Had a really good year for the Wildcats. He's gonna be the one to lead them. And then he's the only returner. Other than that, they lost a lot of their key guys. But it's just gonna be, how can these guys that Mark Pope brought in around them, how can they really pair well with Owe? Jalen Lowe is gonna be one to watch. Not a great 3-point shooter, but draws a lot of fouls. Is good, get to the basket and either draw a foul, dish out to a teammate, kind of like that. He should be a lot of fun to watch, as well as Denzel Aberdeen, who was on Florida last year. So, bringing national championship experience now over to Kentucky should be pretty big for the Wildcats. Then another team that I like to watch here in the SEC, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Football's back this year for them, but might be becoming a basketball school. On KenPom, they are ranked 23rd. Evan Mia has the Crimson Tide at 16th. Bart Torvik has them at, too many A schools up here. I'm not seeing them. There's no way he's this low on them. I had to have missed them. Can't read on the spot always here. He has them at 20th, yeah. And then Haslametrics has Crimson Tide at 8th. So they bring back LeBaron Philon, one of the better guards in the SEC last year. A lot of fun to watch. And other than that, we're kind of, the loss of Marcus Spears is going to be tough. But honestly, he just really didn't have a great year last year. They bring in Aiden Holloway, who might even be a better player. Transfers in the front court. You got Taylor Bowen coming in from FSU. Really, loaded front court for them here, as well as Adrian Sherrill. Should take a big leap. Was really solid post defender for the Crimson Tide last year. So, this Alabama team should be really good again. Like I said, low-key half joking, but kind of not. Could be more of a basketball school now. Then we'll go cross state. Their rivals in the Iron Bowl, Auburn Tigers, also a lot of fun to watch. Going to be a team I'm keeping my eye on this year. They are ranked, you said, a lot of A's, so I want to make sure I don't miss them. 31st in KenPom, 25th in Evan Mia. Bart Torvik has them at 27th, and then Haslametrics has them at 10th. So probably we'll take a bit of a step back, after losing guys like Chad Baker-Mazara, John I. Broom, who could, been player of the year. But Tahad Pettiford's coming back. Freshman last year, came off the bench. He's going to play a much bigger role for the team this year. And then looking at kind of other guys, Keyshawn Hall in the front court could lead the Tigers in scoring. He's coming from UCF. He led UCF in scoring last year, so that's what this magazine here is saying. Looking at anyone else, Sebastian Williams-Adams is a top 50 recruit that it says Coach Pearl. That is the other big thing. Bruce Pearl does, retire. His son Stephen Pearl's now be taken over. So yeah, when this is written, it still has Bruce Pearl. So that's another reason why Auburn could take a step back this year, as well as, leading all those guys. Plus, they went to the Final Four last year. We're number one for a lot of the year. SEC regular season champs. I definitely think they're going to take a step back, but I think Auburn should still be a lot of fun to watch. And then final one, we'll go across, sticking in the A's. Arkansas is another SEC team that I'm seeing rated pretty highly here. Like I mentioned, they're ranked 14th in the preseason poll. But then on KenPom, they are ranked. I just saw it too. Now it's going to evade me, isn't it? Gosh, I really should have written these down. They're ranked 29th in KenPom. Evan Mia has them at 20th. Bart Torvik has them at 16th. And then Haslametrics has them outside of his top 25, has them at, all right, there's no way. I can't read. He has them at 23rd, not outside of something. Has them at 23rd. So Coach Cal, second year at the helm here at Arkansas. He brings back Carter Knox, one of his wings that was returning, as well as DJ Wagner, a guy that was at Kentucky, another kind of guard wing. Other guys to kind of watch here. Trayvon Brazile came off the bench, probably play a little bit of bigger role this year. And then Malik Thomas, who is a top 15 player, top 15 recruit, All-American. Should be a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's kind of going to wrap it up, I think, for my teams to watch here in college basketball. Like I said, next week will be a little bit more formal, do some more like player talk, but like do my like preseason like All-American or conference teams, as well as, some conference predictions. Like I said, right now, just kind of wanted to start with just a kind of little overview, have some guys to have you guys, keep an eye out for, and then next week we get a little bit more in depth with the previews. So we're going to flip over now to the NBA. Go with my 2025 season predictions, and then let me pull them up here. I made tier lists. Window, no. Let's see if I can pull it up. Oh, here we go. Image file. There we go. All right. Here are my NBA tiers for this season. So as you can see, my contenders, my top picks that I think can win the NBA Finals. I have obviously the Oklahoma City Thunder returning champs. I should have pulled up the odds to win. Here we go. Odds to win the finals. They're obviously the favorites, plus 200. And then these next two teams, the Nuggets, the Cavs, both plus 650. So I think those are, not that it's unacceptable to pick any of the other top three teams, but I would say those are the three teams for sure that I think one of these three teams wins the NBA Finals. The next, my dark horses, I got the Rockets, obviously acquired Kevin Durant this offseason, the Knicks, and then the Clippers. The East, I'd say, is very wide open just because, you're seeing guys like Jason Tatum's going to be injured this year. Tyrese Halliburton's going to miss the whole season. The Bucks, I think, have taken a step back. That's why we'll get to these next tiers in a sec. But I feel like it's almost now or never for the Knicks. They get to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Their odds to win the finals are plus 1,000, but then they're the second odds in the East. Cavs are plus 220 to win the East. Knicks are plus 325. I really feel like those two teams, just because of their experience, are kind of a step above everyone else. Then, like I said, other teams in that tier, we got the Rockets and the Clippers. Maybe this was a little too, I just went based off the gambling odds. They're both plus 900. Like I said, KD, big addition for this Rockets team. Team that was a 3 seed a year ago. And the Clippers, it's going to be a matter, can they stay healthy? I mean, they got Kawhi. They bring in guys like Brook Lopez, Chris Paul. It is a bit of a retirement home there for the Clippers. So it is kind of almost now or never for the Clippers, where it's if they stay healthy, I could see them making a run, but if not, then it's going to be a tough year. Then next, the playoff teams that I think these teams for sure will be in the playoffs. I'd be very surprised if they're not. Granted, I guess out west, I now have 7 teams when only 6 are for sure playoffs, and then one more will have to be in the play-in. So playoff teams out west, I got Minnesota, the Lakers, and Golden State. It's Golden State's another one. I could see this being a really big Steph Curry year. I wouldn't have been opposed to kind of bumping them up a tier maybe. So yeah, they're another team. Clock's kind of ticking. Now they got a full year Jimmy Butler. We'll see. But I think this Warriors team maybe could. borderline looking at this, like I said, I made this last night. I borderline might even flip this this Warriors team with the Clippers. The other two teams, Minnesota, obviously Ant Edwards plays a big role for them. They're a team that they upset the Lakers last year, and then they beat that Golden State team. So they've been in the conference finals the last 2 years, but then have just kind of gotten beat, been the not as good team. So we'll see. Could this maybe be the year? I'm saying probably not. But maybe this is it for them. And then the Lakers, yeah, I'd say at this point I could borderline move the Lakers down into the play-in tier. I mean, LeBron's gonna be out for a while. It's just gonna be kind of, can Luka hold down the fort while he's out? I mean, this really should be more Luka's team anyways. Then my East playoff teams, I got the Hawks, Magic, Bucks, and Pistons. So the Hawks, Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, like they're a young team. I feel like the Hawks, they almost were ahead of schedule when they went to the conference finals a couple years ago, or not even, like 4 years ago now, and just really haven't been back since. I feel like if they're going to make a year that like they can go on a run, like I mentioned, all these injuries in the East, this has to be the year. So we'll see. I got the Hawks probably as the third best team in the East. Fourth, I got the Magic. Their team made the playoffs last year, like seemed to start taking a step in the right direction. Can Paulo Banchero really carry this team again? I hope so. I hope to see it. He's a really fun guy to watch. So that's why I got the Magic fourth. Fifth, I got the Bucks. Got rid of Dame, but then bring in Miles Turner to pair with Giannis. And, it kind of gives Giannis like a big that can step out and shoot, as well as, then, Giannis doesn't have to be the kind of like the, like still, he's still gonna be a shot blocker, like rim stuffer. But to have another guy to kind of assist him, that I think is gonna be really huge. Then the Pistons, a team made the playoffs last year, gave the Knicks honestly a tough series. Cade Cunningham, I could see him having another really big year this year. So I got the Pistons there. Then a play-in, got Dallas. Kyrie's gonna be out for a while, but them getting Cooper Flag, I feel like they're gonna have a big year. Anthony Davis, Cooper Flag, gonna be so much fun to watch. The Grizzlies and the Spurs, my other West play-in teams. Like I said, the Spurs, if Victor Wembanyama stays healthy, I can see this being a really big year for him. I think they're really gonna try to hype. Granted, they've already kind of been doing it with this like Wembanyama and like Chet rivalry. I think Spurs Mavericks, we could see it be like 2010s level again here. Not this year, but maybe in a couple of years where they're like competing for the conference finals like it was, back when it was like the Dirk and Jason Kidd versus like Tony Parker and Tim Duncan kind of days. I think we're going to get that again with Cooper Flag and Victor Wembanyama. I could really see that. Grizzlies, it's just going to be, like the health of Ja Morant, stuff like that. I'd say they're probably my pick to be the 9 or 10 seed. They're plus 10,000 here to win the West. But yeah, I would say kind of like I said, after those like first 7, the West I think really does take a dip. But honestly, I just kind of think a lot of these teams are going to be kind of bad. So that's why I have like the Grizzlies probably at the 10th spot. Like I said, out East, then I got the Celtics, the Pacers, the Heat, and then the Raptors is my play-in teams. No Jason Tatum, but then still Jaylen Brown. However, like I feel like the Celtics team lost a lot of depth. They got rid of guys like Porzingis. They might struggle a little bit this year, and that's why I have them probably being a play-in team. Granted, like I said, when Tatum comes back, I think they'll be right back to contending for the East. I think this is probably someone else in the East year. So yeah, and then same thing with Pacers. No Tyrese Halliburton, but I still think there's enough there. And like I said, do end up losing Miles Turner, but like the guys that they had step up in the postseason, like a TJ McConnell, like I could see guys, playing hard and stepping up. So I think Indiana, especially after a run they went on last year, like they're a team, they play with a lot of grit, a lot of heart. I have a hard time seeing them just like not being in at least the postseason or being in at least the play. I mean, they still got Pascal Siakam there, Andrew Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, like solid backcourt there with Indiana. The Heat, I don't know. This is more of just like I don't really like anyone else out East. They're a team that's like I said, now no Jimmy Butler. I don't even remember. Were the Heat? Yeah, the Heat were a play-in team last year. I don't think. Gosh, the NBA was so long ago. I can't even low key remember. I don't think they made the playoffs. I want to say they lost in the second playing game, but still got Bam. Andrew Wiggins is now there, so they have solid guys. Where, like I said, I think they have more talent than a lot of these other teams out east, where they'll still be in the mix. And then Toronto, final playing team. I mean, this is kind of just like throwing darts at a board for me. I'm going with the Raptors. I think, they should be a solid team. Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett. Like, it's a good team. I don't know. Maybe they're even ahead of some of these teams, like depth wise, but it's kind of like they have young guys, but I feel like it's a lot of guys that really haven't proven a whole lot. So I'm kind of hoping that they take another step. Then the lottery. This one kind of surprised me, but from what I'm seeing, I kind of have to agree with the Phoenix Suns. Like I said, after now losing KD, no Brad Beal. That was the other Clippers guy. Why that I blanked on? I don't know why I didn't say him on the Clippers. It's just kind of Devin Booker and no one else. So unless like Devin Booker single-handedly just like carries this team on a run over like say a Memphis or like, maybe San Antonio or Dallas isn't quite ready. Well, Dallas was a playoff team last year. Maybe, San Antonio isn't quite ready to take the jump that I could see them taking this year. Like maybe somehow they make the postseason, make the play-in, but I just really can't see it. It's quite literally like Devin Booker and no one else on that roster. Like I just like these other rosters in the West better. Sacramento, I mean, not much to say. They've lost a lot of their key guys. They had last couple of years. I mean, I could have even probably had them in a tier lower. It was a team that was looking like it was going in the right direction, but now, in all honesty, they're just kind of like the Bulls of the past with DeMar and Zach LaVine. I mean, they signed Russell Westbrook. But yeah, like I'm really not loving these guards. It has Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis as their starting front court. I'm just not seeing much in Sacramento. And then finally, for last lottery team out west, I have the Pelicans. People are higher on this. Zion's skinny. Can he stay healthy? Hopefully, then this could be a solid team. But then you got like Jordan Poole's a starting point guard. I'm honestly higher on Jeremiah Fears than Jordan Poole. Like Jordan Poole is just kind of a shot target. He doesn't really play winning basketball in my opinion. So like there's some like young guys where I think, if Zion stays healthy and stays in New Orleans, that like maybe in a couple of years, this could be a playoff team, but I just don't see it yet. And then the lottery for the East, we got the Bulls and the Sixers. I mean, the Bulls maybe make the play-in just because that's what they do, but not very talented team. Then the Sixers, just with the way Joel Embiid is, like I just really can't. I just don't have trust in him. Paul George is already listed out. Like, so then it's just going to kind of be Tyrese Maxey. I am high on VJ Edgecombe, but like, yeah, it's kind of like Tyrese Maxey, when these guys inevitably get injured, is going to have to do the Devin Booker. And like, can he single-handedly carry the team to the postseason? I don't think so. So for that reason, that's why I got the Sixers in the lottery. And then just quickly tanking the Blazers. Blazers, I've seen some people maybe higher on. Maybe they could be a tier above, but I don't know. I think they're just a very young team. I'm not as high on them. The Jazz, I think the Jazz are probably the worst team in the NBA. They're going to trade Lauri Markkanen. Like, they're going to be bad. They're going to be hoping to bring AJ Dembasto. I've been talking about, like I said, keep him in the state of Utah. I think that's my goal for them this year. Then out east, the Nets, Hornets, Wizards, all going to be bad. I feel like you don't really have to say much of those teams. Like the Nets, it's going to be like Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas just taking a million shots. Other than that, there is really not much there. They're a team. I mean, like I said, Igor Demon, who I mentioned earlier from BYU, they're like, there's guys that, like just a lot of young guys that maybe could like develop. Like they had 5 first-round picks or something like that. Like this is just not the year for the Nets. But maybe in a couple of years. And then the Hornets, I am actually, excited to watch like Con Knippel and then LaMelo Ball. But he's almost another guy where it's like, can LaMelo stay healthy? If he does, maybe this Hornets team is competing for that last play-in spot, but I'm probably not seeing it. But I guess you never know. I mean, like I said, LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Con Knippel should be really fun to watch. But other than that, not a whole lot else there. And then the Wizards, I take it back. The Wizards could be the worst team in the NBA. It's either the Wizards or the Jazz. Not much to say with this Wizards team. It's Yeah, I don't even have Jordan Poole anymore. Who even does this Wizards team ham? I know they're bad. Yeah, it's like Chris Middleton. I feel bad for him. He's going to be the only guy like really of note on this team. I mean, young guys like Alexander Sarr, Bub Carrington, Cam Whitmore, maybe they take a step. But yeah, the Wizards, the Jazz, worst team in the NBA. So that's what I got. If I'm going to go my finals prediction, I'm going to go Nuggets beat the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. Cavs beat the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Nuggets over the Cavs with Nikola Jokic. Like I said, I think he's going to have a really big year, winning the Finals MVP. So that's going to wrap it up for our first episode of the Fast Break this season. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to drop a like on the video. Subscribe here to the Variety Sports Network. We're going to be live here every Tuesday. So appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next week. Peace.